May I venture to interpret the whole wide world for you, unless we understand why the world is in such sorrow and trouble. We're like a boxer fighting with a blindfold on. We must understand why the world is as it is. The world is very sick and the contagion is very much catching. We must understand why. 100 million people were murdered in war in the last century. That's 3 times as many people dying as in the previous 1900 years. War is stupidity. War is folly. Think of the millions of Vietnamese people that we killed in the war of Vietnam. Think of the hundreds of thousands of Arabians, Iraqis we killed in the unnecessary war of Iraq. War is indeed folly. A very wise man said some years ago, the world is suiciding. What is left is rubble, and the next international problem will sweep it all away. Think on this. Man can walk on the moon, can split the atom, but he can't stop killing his brothers and sisters. He can't stop raping, lying, and stealing. The answer, of course, as a Christian, you know, that simple word S-I-N, the heart of it is I, self-centeredness. Eye trouble that no optometrist can cure. Selfishness, sin. You won't find it in most magazines and books, but you find it in the Bible. God is the clue to how we should behave, and you usually don't find that in books either. Just some years ago, the world was convulsed by youth riots in many cities, and historians say the youth were overprivileged, under-disciplined, and pursued a course that was quite illegitimate. Well, the whole wide world, except Christians, is prone to do the same. In Genesis, which is the seed of the whole Bible, we read at the beginning of 2 institutions that were meant to prevent sorrow, crime, tragedy, and death. 2 institutions at the beginning of the Bible are the Sabbath and marriage. You read about these in chapters 1 and 2 of the Bible's first book. If people kept the Sabbath, they'd always remember they were creatures of a loving, wise Creator. And from marriage comes the last 6 commandments. In the family, life begins, 6th commandment. Life in 2 forms, 7th commandment. In the family, we learn of property. Thou shalt not steal, 8th commandment. In the family, we learn must speak the truth, 9th commandment. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And the beginning of all sin, thinking wrongly, thou shalt not covet, the 10th commandment. Elton Trueblood, that great Quaker philosopher, wrote in a book saying, the world is in a mess because it has forgotten Christianity. Few people study the Bible, few people observe the day of rest, and the tie of marriage has been loosened. All this has been exacerbated, made worse by the theory of evolution that is so popular. Darwin's theory breaks hearts, brings bewilderment to the mind, and has thrown the earth into chaos. Sin has always existed since the fall, but things are now much worse because Darwin's theory of chance is believed by foolish men. Myths we embrace and the truth we reject. There was a wise man, the greatest psychologist of America, William James, who wrote this: all natural goods perish. Riches take wings. Fame is a breath. Love is a cheat. Health, age, youth, all disappear? Can things whose end is dust and disappointment be the real things that we require? We need a life not correlated with death. We need a kind of good that will not perish. How right he was. And what he's asking for is found only in the Christian gospel. Another great man, John Bailey, in his book Invitation to Pilgrimage, had this to say: the ultimate sadness of life is that nothing lasts. The bloom of youth so soon disappears from all that is young. The vigour of maturity is so short-lived, and old age brings forgetfulness and decay, which presage the oblivion and corruption of the tomb. This is why our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. How right he is. We need a cure for death. Only the gospel gives it. When we read at the beginning of the Bible about creation, it's telling us that God is the real home for the Spirit of God. If men and women don't believe in creation, they don't know who their ultimate Father is, and they don't know who they are. And life can only bring sorrow and tragedy and disappointment. Put your faith in the Book of Books, and you will find life and joy and eternal happiness. God bless you.